Hey guys, and thanks for joining me for yet another video. In this presentation, we're going to take a look at how to make aloo pies. We're going to make the standard filling, which is a potato aloo, and we're going to make other fillings as well. I just wanted to show you the easy steps it takes to achieve the result of this pie. It's quite tasty and enjoyed all throughout the Caribbean, so let's get into this video, y'all. Hey guys, and thanks for joining me for yet another video. In this presentation, we're going to be making some aloo pies. Now to make aloo pies, you're going to need, this is a 2-cup measurement, so you're going to need 4 cups of flour, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 4 teaspoons of yeast, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, and you're going to need 3 cups of water that's warm. Now for your filling, you're going to need about 3 medium-sized potatoes. Now see how they fit in the palm of my hand. So 3 of those, 1 onion, which we're going to grate on the fine side of the grater, some Geera powder, probably 1.5 teaspoons. I have some fresh Spanish thyme that we're going to chop up, some black pepper, some chicken base seasoning, some minced garlic, and some green seasoning, and some extra virgin olive oil. We'll get into the quantities as we go, and you have the option of some hot sauce, which I am going to use as well, just to give it a little bit more flavor. If you do have pimento, feel free to use it. If you do have Shadow Beni, feel free to use it. I have those items in my green seasoning and it's grinded in, so I'm just going to be adding my green seasoning. So first thing first we're going to do is we're going to add our 4 cups of flour to this large wide mouth basin. We add our 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 4 teaspoons of yeast, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, and now we're going to start adding our warm 3 cups of warm water, up to 3. So after adding the dry ingredients, what I usually do is I use my potato masher to integrate all my ingredients together. So I just give it a quick sift like this, just to make sure my yeast is mixed into my baking powder, into my salt, into my flour, before I start adding any liquids to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, like I said, it's 3 cups. I'm going to start with 1 cup here. We're going to go directly in there and start mixing that in. So I just added 2 cups of water to my flour, and I'm just going to use my potato masher to start mixing it in before I actually put my hands in, just to integrate this. I'm probably going to need my 3rd cup. I'm going to go in with my hands pretty soon. I just like to mix in the majority of this wet stuff first before I actually go in with my hands. So I'm going to go in with my hands next, and you'll probably see. So I just wanted to come back and show you that first thing first, on my 3rd cup of water, I didn't use any. This is just a full 2 cups of water that I massaged into this dough. Now the dough feels pretty warm at this point. I just wanted you to see the texture of the dough and get a feel for what it should look like. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be rolling these out into single balls. So here I have a baking pan, like a cookie sheet, that I poured a teaspoon of olive oil on, and then I sprinkled some flour on top of that. And this is going to be the surface where the pies are going to be rising. So out of this dough, I'm going to just be breaking off little balls. I think they call them loaves. Loaves of dough. So I go in with pieces like maybe as small as this. I'm gonna ball one. So yeah, so after I just keep rolling it into itself. So basically you just keep folding in the bottom part into itself, like wherever had your base. I just fold it into itself here until I get a smooth surface like this. I give it a little bit of dusting in the flour just to smooth it out, and then I'm gonna put it to rest right here on this tray so it can swell and get. Hey y'all, so I'm back with the aloo pie balls that are gonna be swollen soon. Just remember the size they are right now, and you'll see what they swell up into. We'll check it back in an hour and see how it's doing. I like to leave it as long as possible and let it rise, like how you let bread rise. By the way, with this quantity with this measurement, I got a quantity of 20 of them. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to set this aside on a table. Hey, also, I got my potatoes peeled and I cubed them. I also have 3 cups of water that's on a rapid boil right now, and it's ready to take these potatoes. I cut up my, what do you call this, a Spanish thyme. And I also have my onions that's been halved. And what we're going to do is we're going to be grating it on this finer side to this side of the grater. So now we're going to be prepping to add in our potatoes. I have my stove on a rapid boil. It's on high right now. I'm just going to add a teaspoon of salt to it. And I'm also going to add a teaspoon of cooking oil to it. And I'm also going to be adding my potatoes in at this point. And I'm going to set a timer for 20 minutes. And then this should be done. Hey y'all, so I just strained off my potatoes and I placed them in this bowl. They're going to be mashed next. But before we mash them, we're going to get the seasoning part prepared. So what I have here is a small saucepan. It's on a medium-high heat. To that, I'm going to add about 5 tablespoons of olive oil, just till it covers the base of this pan. To that, I'm going to be adding in my onions. We're going to add our chopped 3 leaves of Spanish thyme as well, a 1/4 teaspoon of hot sauce, a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, a tablespoon of green seasoning, a teaspoon of chicken base. We're also going to add a teaspoon of minced ginger, a teaspoon of salt as well. And then we're going to give that a mix in the oil. And we're going to let this cook for about 5 minutes. Now this has been cooking for 5 minutes. And now I'm going to be adding my 1.5 teaspoons of Geera powder. Now I'm going to probably increase this once I taste it in the potatoes if it's not enough. However, being that this seasoning is being seasoned right now, it's good to infuse it with some Geera from here, so that by the time this all hits the potato, it's ready to, you know, lit up the flavor. So I'm just now taking this seasoning off of the stove and I'm going to be adding it directly to my potatoes. I am going to mash the flavor with my masher into my potatoes, and then I'm going to taste it and see what else may be missing or what I might need to upgrade on and stuff. But for right now, we're going to mash, totally mash till it's all one paste and consistency of flavor here. So I have the potatoes all mashed. It tastes really nice. The only thing is I like a bit more Geera. I actually like to taste the Geera in there. So being that we put in 1.5 teaspoons, I'm gonna put another 1/2 teaspoon and mix that in, and that should be perfect. So I just sprinkled about a 1/2 teaspoon over top, and I'm just gonna mix that into this potato that we have that's properly well mashed. And I'm gonna set this aside on the counter until my dough is ready. Hey guys, so to start, we have a 1/4 cup of just flour. So I'm just gonna use about 1/3 of that just to flour a bit of a surface here. And what I'm gonna do next is, as you can see here, how much they have risen since we put them in here. It's been 2 hours. The longer you leave them, the higher they raise, but I don't advise past 4 hours. So you just remove your first lure. You remove the first one, and then you just dust it on both sides with flour. And then I just use my hands to flatten it out. Alternatively, you can use a rolling pin. Just give it a bit of flour there. And you can roll this out nice and flat so that you could fill it. Alright, you can use a rolling pin if you're not comfortable using your hands. Nice and thin, very thin edges. Hey y'all, so I got this out really rolled out, as you can see, in comparison to my hands. It's super thin, like paper thin. You can see the thinness here. Yeah. You just want it nice and thin so that it can be wide enough to hold your dough and your filling. So I have my filling here, and I'm going to use a plastic spoon preferably. So I just go in with the plastic spoon. I go in with, say, I just start with like, I'll say about 3 of these, 3 teaspoons of these, and then I just flatten it out on half of this dough. So I'll flatten it out on half of it and I'll show you what it should look like before you close it up. So guys, I have the half a moon filled. So what I do is I just fold down the other half on it and then I start pressing to close until the whole edge is closed up like that. And then I actually go over it with a knife and take off some of the extras. So I'll show you what that looks like. So yeah, I just took off the edges on this pie here. You could just peel off that after you cut it off. You could stack it to the side. Maybe eventually you'll end up with enough to make another one at the end. So I just put it on the side there for now. And then I continue just pressing out the side. This is the reason why I didn't fill it all the way to the edge, because I know I cut off my edges to make it like seal off there perfectly. So this pie is ready to be fried. So I'm just gonna place it here in this pan. Right here. I'm gonna just sprinkle a pinch of flour over top because the next one will lay on top of it and I don't want to have any sticking. So yeah. So that'll sit on the side and then we'll do the same thing over and over until we roll all. I like to roll all of mine just so I can keep up with the whole process. Hey guys, so I'm back and here I have 15 pies that are potato only. And then I have these ones which are some are bologna and cheese and some are just cheese. There's about 5 more here, so the 5 that are mixed, and then there's 15 potatoes. If I could have did one thing, I would have put 1 more potato to boil so that I would have had more for these 5 that got left out. So it seemed like 1 potato average. Okay, so I'm just putting in the first 2 pies. There's 1, 2. Like I say, this doesn't take very long to fry because the dough is so thin. So you'll see like instantly it wants to get brown. Okay, so I came back to show you the end result. So here I have some cheese pies. These are all the cheese pies. These are the potato ones. Very soft, as you can see, bendable, very soft. So these ones are the potatoes and these ones are the fish, salt fish. So yeah, I just came back to show you what they look like. So these are called aloo pies. Alright, y'all, later.